pounds on rings than I can even care to count. And when they show up, I'm like, thank God you're here. But they came in there that morning, and we got out of there that night around midnight, July 3rd. My boots hit the ground 4th of July, American soil, on our base. And everything I just told you fails into comparison to how crazy that rescue was to get me out of there. When that Air Force squadron came in, that Air Force helicopter squadron came in to get me out of there, they actually came in to crash. They couldn't see anything. It was complete brownout, all the dust, all the gunfire. I mean, it looked like the mountain was exploding. Literally lost sight of the mountain. If he would have shifted 2 feet to the right, he would have fell off the mountain. If he would have gone 3 to the left, he would have rolled over on top of us and killed all of us. And he dropped it in there and sat there under gunfire and just waited until they got me on that bird. And then we dumped off the mountain and took me to Bagram Air Force Base and pulled me out of there. Typical military, instead of taking me straight to the hospital, I went to a debriefing room. I was like, I could use some medical attention. So they're holding me up, they stripped me naked. My doctor comes in, she was asking me if I was in pain. I was like, yeah. And it reminded me when I was in the village, and I'll tell this anecdote real fast. When I was in there, the second day is when they started working on me. They would come in at night and cuddle me to pull that frag out of my legs. Well, it hurt. And I'd pitch a fit. Well, then they started having people sit on top of me. Well, I had skin on my backside anywhere. And that hurt even worse. This old man came bebopping in there one night, one of the village elders. He was like, hey, white boy, hold on for a second. And he rolled up this green piece of putty and threw it in my lip. And it was opium. And I don't know if anybody's ever done opium in here, but it's great. You weren't allowed to do drugs in my family, so I didn't have no tolerance. Matter of fact, I stood up, I was like, you missed one. They were trying to hold me down. I was like, oh, wait, I got to get home to Texas, man. I remember when they were holding me up, the doctor, she was asking, she's like, are you in pain, sweetie? And I was like, yes, ma'am, you wouldn't have any opium on you. Never mind. I was like, what's this all about? Mikey actually got that sat phone call off, and the rest of my platoon came in on another helicopter. When it went to land, right on the other side of the hill we were fighting on, a 12-year-old boy shot an RPG into the back of it, blew it out of the sky, killing 16 more of my teammates. I had no idea that happened, and it happened right on the other side of the hill. That's how loud it was on our side. Couldn't hear a helicopter exploding. I was like, all right. Well, everybody who knew about our mission was classified top secret, was on that helo. So my guys were still laying out there on the mountain. I was like, get me a map. Mikey's laying right here, Danny's right here, and Actor's right here. They found Mikey and Danny the next day. It took them 2 days to get them out of there. Couldn't land the helo in there. The PJs had a fast rope in there, under fire, and got them out of there. We bring everybody home. They didn't find Axe. And then they put me into Germany, and I think I was in the hospital in Germany for 11 days, and I got a phone call, and they found Axe. He was 3.5 miles from where I said he was. He lived through that RPG blast. And when they found him, he had an empty pistol magazine laying next to him. He was fighting blind. He wouldn't give it up, no matter what. Good testimony. Chad was actually on that CSR package. He's the one that brought my team home. So, it's a small world. But I was in the hospital for a long time, getting pieced back together. You know, titanium's a great metal. So they put me back together, because I had to get back to combat. And there was a lot of people trying to talk me out of it. And I was like, I know a lot of firefighters and police officers, and they don't stop being a firefighter because they make a bad house fire, or if a police officer makes a bad arrest, or they didn't stop being a cop. Why the hell would I stop being a SEAL just because I got into that gunfight? I was like, get out of my way, man, I gotta go back. So I went back into Ramadi 2 weeks after Mark Lee was killed. I ripped his platoon out. And it was the worst place on the planet. I remember one of his teammates who had been injured as well came in and was in medical. And I walked in and I was like, hey, I'm the team leader. I'm taking my guys, I'm ripping you guys out, and you got any advice for what we can do, what I need to do when we get over there? And all he said to me was pray. I was like, yeah, all right. And it was hell on earth. And I got my knees blown out about 3 months into it. 3 or 4 months, I gotta remember, Jake, it's so long ago now. And I couldn't stand up anymore, I couldn't walk. My teammates had to carry me everywhere. crossing in my career. And I remember the hardest thing that I ever had to deal with, not budge training, not building, not putting 67 of my buddies in the ground. The hardest thing I ever had to face in my entire life was the day they told me that I couldn't be a Navy SEAL anymore. Because I knew that that's what I was born to do. And I run across people all the time who say, you know, hey, I do this for a living, but I wish I would have done this. I mean, I just kind of want to slap the dog mess out of the guy. I would never touch a woman with men. I'm just like, why do you waste your life doing something that doesn't bring you absolute enjoyment? Because if you knew how fast it could be taken away from you, I mean, what the hell? What's going through your damn head? And when they told me that I couldn't be a SEAL, I was just like, I call it the dark ages. They sent me back to the ranch, and I beat my head against the wall for probably 3 years, trying to figure out what to do. And thank the good Lord, some of my friends, and I met my wife, and I'll never forget the day, first day, kind of a blind date kind of deal. We were walking out, and I walked into the wrong restaurant, Navy SEAL. I walked out of there, and she had her head in her purse looking for her phone, and I hollered out her name, and she looked at me and smiled. That's the one image that replaced a lot of bad ones. And that night, pretty much that night, I told her that she would never go anywhere without me for the rest of her life. And I couldn't marry her fast enough. So.